Most Australians assume that when they buy extra virgin olive oil, they are getting a pure, high-quality product. But once you start reading the fine print on supermarket shelves, the differences between bottles become surprisingly significant. Some list harvest dates, some do not. Some clearly state country of origin. Others are vague, and those small details can change what you are actually paying for. By the end of this video, viewers should feel compelled to check the bottle currently in their pantry. In 10th place, Pompeian olive oil stands out for its clear glass bottle and a broad origin statement. The label often reads United States and EU blend, with no harvest date printed anywhere on the packaging. This combination makes it difficult for shoppers to know where the oil was produced or how fresh it might be. The see-through bottle allows light to reach the oil, which can accelerate oxidation and reduce both flavour and potential health benefits over time. This affects the freshness of the oil. With a typical price below $12 per litre, Pompeian appeals to budget-conscious buyers. But the lack of harvest information and precise origin details means there is little to help consumers judge quality at a glance. These factors place Pompeian at the lower end of the transparency scale, and they serve as a clear example of how packaging and vague sourcing can leave important questions unanswered. Number 9. Bertolli olive oil presents a classic Italian identity, with labels and branding that evoke old world tradition and Mediterranean quality. Yet a closer look at the bottle tells a different story. The fine print often reveals a blend of oils from several European Union countries, not a single Italian source. The packaging typically uses lighter glass, which, while visually appealing, offers little protection from light exposure. Harvest or pressing dates are absent, making it difficult to judge how fresh the oil actually is. Priced around $17 per litre, Bertolli positions itself as a premium option, but the lack of clear origin and date information places it at odds with its heritage-focused marketing. This contrast between the front label and the ingredients panel highlights how familiar branding can sometimes mask the realities of global sourcing. In 8th place, Moro olive oil brings a Spanish touch to Australian supermarket shelves, with branding that leans heavily on Mediterranean heritage. Yet, a closer look at the label tells a more complex story. The back panel typically declares an EU blend, meaning the oil could come from any number of European countries, not just Spain. There is no harvest date printed, so the actual age of the oil remains uncertain. Moro bottles often use semi-clear glass, which lets in more light than ideal, and may speed up the loss of flavour and antioxidants. Priced around $13 per litre, Moro sits in the mid-range, but the lack of single harvest details and precise origin information makes it difficult for shoppers to judge quality. This combination of national imagery and multi-country sourcing highlights how branding can sometimes create expectations that the label itself does not fully support. Number 7. Coles house brand olive oil sits on supermarket shelves in a clear plastic bottle, marked with the phrase, "Packed in Australia." This wording signals that the oil itself is imported in bulk, often as an EU blend from countries like Spain, Greece, or Tunisia, then bottled locally. While the label's candor about packing location is a step toward transparency, it leaves the original source and harvest timing of the olives unresolved. No harvest date appears on the bottle, so there is no easy way to judge how fresh the oil might be. Priced around $9 per litre, this house brand appeals to value-focused shoppers, but the combination of clear plastic packaging and limited origin detail means the oil is more exposed to light and its story remains incomplete. For those seeking traceability or freshness cues, these omissions are worth noting. Number 6. Woolworths Essentials olive oil follows a similar pattern found in many private label supermarket brands. The label typically indicates a blend sourced from multiple European countries, but it does not specify which countries and it does not give a harvest date. The oil is packaged in a clear plastic jug, which offers little protection from light exposure and can accelerate the loss of flavour and antioxidants over time. Priced around $9.50 per litre, this bulk option appeals to shoppers looking for affordability, Yet the trade-off is a lack of detailed information about where the olives were grown or when the oil was pressed. The combination of generic EU blend wording and clear packaging means shoppers get minimal clues about freshness or quality. For those seeking more transparency or traceability, these omissions are worth considering before placing this bottle in the trolley. Number 5. Loopy olive oil brings a new layer of complexity to the question of label transparency. On supermarket shelves, the bottle often states EU blend or packed in Australia from imported ingredients, but a quick search of retailer websites can reveal different wording, sometimes emphasising European origin and other times highlighting the Australian packing process. This inconsistency between what is printed on the bottle and what appears online makes it harder for shoppers to confirm exactly where the oil comes from or how it has been handled. The oil is typically packaged in a clear plastic bottle, offering little protection from light, which may accelerate the loss of flavour and nutrients. Priced around $11 per litre, Loopy sits in the mid-range, but the shifting details between shelf and screen serve as a reminder to double-check both the physical label and the online listing before deciding what to bring home. Number 4. Filippo Berio olive oil occupies a prominent spot on supermarket shelves, often positioned as a premium import, with a price tag close to $20 for a 750 milliliter bottle. The branding draws on an Italian legacy, yet the label typically lists a blend of oils from multiple European Union countries rather than a single source. The packaging, while more refined than budget blends, often uses lighter glass that does little to protect the oil from light exposure. Shoppers searching for harvest dates or pressing information will find none, leaving the actual age and freshness of the oil uncertain. For a product marketed at a higher price point, the absence of clear origin and harvest details stands out, especially as these are the very cues that help consumers judge quality and value. This gap between premium branding and transparency on the bottle is a detail worth noting when considering what to bring home. Number 3. Cobra Estate Light brings a different angle to the olive oil aisle. Unlike the brand's flagship extra virgin range, this light variant is a refined oil, not extra virgin. The term light refers to a milder flavour, achieved by processing that strips out much of the oil's natural aroma and colour. This also means lower polyphenol content and a higher allowable acidity, so it does not meet the strict standards for extra virgin olive oil. Some bottles in this range include a harvest or best before date, which offers more transparency than many imports, but the packaging is often clear glass. That leaves the oil more vulnerable to light, which can speed up the loss of freshness and antioxidants. Priced around $15 per litre, Cobra Estate Light is positioned as a domestic option, but its chemical profile and packaging set it apart from true extra virgin oils. For shoppers seeking the health and flavour benefits of fresh, unrefined olive oil, understanding the difference between light and extra virgin is essential. Number 2, praise. Olive oil is a fixture in the budget aisle, offering one of the lowest price points in Australian supermarkets, often around $8 to $10 per litre. The label is direct about its status as an imported blend, but it stops short of naming any specific countries or regions. There is no harvest date printed, so shoppers have no easy way to judge how fresh the oil might be. Packaging comes in a clear plastic bottle, which does little to shield the oil from light and can accelerate the loss of flavour and antioxidants over time. For those looking to stretch their grocery budget, the appeal is clear, but the trade-off is minimal traceability, and there is little on the label to help consumers understand where the oil was produced, when it was pressed, or how it has been handled on its journey to the shelf. This price transparency trade-off is worth considering before reaching for the lowest cost option. And finally, in first place, Olivani olive oil offers a glimpse of what greater label transparency can look like on supermarket shelves. The bottle often features clearer origin wording, specifying the European Union as the source, which gives shoppers a more concrete sense of where the oil comes from. Many Olivani bottles are made from darker glass, a choice that helps protect the oil from light exposure and slow the loss of flavor and antioxidants. Priced around $12 per litre, Olivani remains accessible while providing better packaging cues than most blends in this price range. Still, the absence of a harvest date means the exact age of the oil remains unknown. For shoppers seeking a balance between affordability and clearer information, Olivani stands out as a step in the right direction. It is proof that incremental improvements in labeling and packaging can make a meaningful difference at the checkout. Across all 10 entries, one pattern stands out. Label transparency matters more than brand or price. Details like harvest dates, single origins, and packaging clarity make a real difference. In Australia's olive oil aisles, informed choices start with what is written on the bottle. The fine print is your best guide. Is the bread you're eating every morning even close to traditional bread anymore? Some supermarket loaves contain more than 15 to 20 ingredients, including added sugar, emulsifiers, vegetable oils, and preservatives that many shoppers never notice. Traditional bread requires just 4 ingredients: flour, water, salt, and yeast. So why do so many popular supermarket loaves contain far more? In 8th place, Lawson's Traditional from Aldi sets the lower bound for ingredient lists among major supermarket loaves. The panel lists 14 ingredients, starting with wheat flour, water, and yeast, which is closer to traditional recipes than most packaged breads. Instead of table sugar, maltose appears as the sweetener. That choice aids yeast activity and browning, while keeping the label distinct from loaves using multiple sugars. For softness and machinability, the only emulsifier present is E471, mono and diglycerides of fatty acids. Preservative 282 is included to extend shelf life, a standard feature in industrial bread. Added wheat gluten is also present, strengthening the dough for high-speed factory production. At roughly $3.20 per loaf, Lawson's Traditional offers a shorter, simpler ingredient list than others in the set, but still relies on additives for shelf stability and texture.
Number 7, Abbott's Rustic White from Coles presents a striking contrast between its branding and its ingredient list. The word rustic appears boldly on the front, yet the first ingredient is refined wheat flour, not wholemeal or stone ground. The panel lists 15 ingredients in total, well above what most would expect from a traditional loaf. After wheat flour and water, sugar takes the third spot, followed by canola oil and a series of additives. 2 emulsifiers appear, soy lecithin and E471, both included to keep the crumbs soft and consistent during mass production. Preservative 282 is present to extend shelf life, a detail that often goes unnoticed by shoppers. Abbott's also includes added soy flour and extra wheat gluten, which help bulk up the dough and improve its machinability on factory lines. At around $3.80 per loaf, this bread raises questions about how far supermarket rustic has drifted from simple 4-ingredient bread.
Number 6, Tip Top. The one from Woolworths brings a new layer of ingredient complexity to the table. The packaging highlights whole grain in bold print, yet the ingredient panel tells a different story. Refined wheat flour appears first, followed by water, with whole grain further down the list. This loaf contains 16 ingredients in total, including added sugar and wheat gluten, which are used to boost dough strength and softness in factory baking. 2 emulsifiers, E471 and E472E, are listed, with E472E, Daytem, standing out as a dough conditioner that improves volume and texture during rapid industrial processing. Preservative 282 is also present, extending shelf life beyond what is possible with traditional recipes. At around $4 a loaf, Tip Top, the one illustrates how national brands rely on multiple additives and make marketing claims that may not match the actual ingredient order. Details like the inclusion of E472E mark a shift toward more complex formulations in mainstream supermarket bread. Number 5, Coles Bakery White brings the private label price point into direct comparison with national brands. The ingredient list stretches to 16 items, beginning with wheat flour, water, and sugar, mirroring the formulation of more expensive loaves. Emulsifiers appear in the form of E471, mono and diglycerides, and soy lecithin. These are included to stabilize the dough and maintain softness during supermarket shelf life. Preservative 282 is present, extending the loaf's lifespan beyond what is possible in traditional baking. Added wheat gluten is used to strengthen the dough for high-speed processing, a detail that often goes unnoticed in budget options. At a shelf price of around $3.20, Coles Bakery White matches the additives profile of loaves costing significantly more, raising questions about the relationship between price and ingredient complexity. For families seeking a simple, 4-ingredient bread, this store brand's panel is worth checking. Ingredient count and additive suite rival those of well-known national brands. Number 4, Sunbeam White, shows a further step up in processing intensity, with a 17-ingredient panel that highlights the trend toward additive complexity. Wheat flour, water, and sugar open the list, but what stands out is the presence of both E471 and E472E, two different emulsifiers that stabilize dough and help maintain a soft crumb during a long shelf life. The label also lists preservative 281, a calcium propionate variant closely related to 282, included to inhibit mold growth and keep the loaf fresh for up to a week or more. Soy flour appears as an extender, allowing bakers to boost volume and texture economically. Few shoppers may realize that one loaf can contain a suite of emulsifiers, each with a distinct role in industrial mixing and rapid fermentation. Priced around $3.50, Sunbeam White illustrates how mainstream supermarket bread now relies on a multi-additive approach, with ingredient lists growing longer as processing demands increase. Number 3, Helga's White Sandwich pushes ingredient complexity near the top of the supermarket shelf. The panel lists 18 ingredients, one of the longest among major brands, with wheat flour, water, and sugar occupying the first 3 spots. What stands out here is not just the presence of added sugar, but the use of 2 different forms, sugar and glucose syrup. This dual approach feeds yeast for faster rising and helps create a soft, uniform crumb, but it also means sweeteners appear twice before other key ingredients. Canola oil is included for softness and to extend shelf life, a standard move in industrial baking. Emulsifiers show up as E471, mono and diglycerides, and soy lecithin, stabilizing the dough for high-speed mixing and consistent slicing. Preservative 282, calcium propionate, guards against mold, while added wheat gluten and soy flour bulk up the dough for factory production. At around $4.50 per loaf, Helga's White Sandwich is marketed as a heritage-style bread, yet its ingredient list reveals a modern industrial formula, with a particular emphasis on sugar variety and oil content that few shoppers may expect. Number 2, Woolworths Bakery White brings the concept of bakery fresh into sharp focus by pairing in-store branding with a lengthy, industrial-style ingredient list. Despite its placement in the supermarket's bakery section and the promise of fresh baking, this loaf contains 19 separate ingredients, nearly 5 times the count of traditional bread. The first 3 on the panel are refined wheat flour, water, and sugar, setting the tone for a formulation that leans heavily on processing aids. A suite of emulsifiers appears, including E471 and soy lecithin, both designed to keep the crumb soft and the slices uniform during mass production. Preservative 282, calcium propionate, is listed to extend shelf life well beyond what is possible in a home-baked loaf. Added wheat gluten is included prominently, boosting dough strength for high-speed mixing and baking. At a price of roughly $3, this loaf undercuts many national brands, yet offers one of the highest ingredient counts in the supermarket. The contrast between bakery-style marketing and the reality of a chemistry-like ingredient panel raises questions about what shoppers are actually getting when they reach for in-store bread labelled as fresh. And finally, in first place, Bergen soy and linseed stands out with the longest and most complex ingredient list among major supermarket breads. The panel lists 20 separate components, beginning with wholemeal flour, water, and soy grits. Despite its premium placement and strong added protein branding, the ingredient list reads more like a processed food than a traditional loaf. Added sugar and canola oil appear early, while the bread's texture and shelf life are managed by an unusually wide range of emulsifiers, E471, E472E, and E481. E481, sodium stearoyl lactylate, is a dough conditioner designed to improve loaf volume and softness during rapid industrial mixing. This is the only bread in the set featuring all three emulsifiers together, a detail that signals intensive processing. Preservative 282 is present to extend freshness, while added wheat gluten and soy flour further boost protein and machinability, features that support factory-scale baking rather than artisanal technique. At a shelf price of around $5.20, Bergen soy and linseed asks a premium but delivers the most ingredient-heavy formulation on the market. The contrast between its health-focused marketing and the sheer number of additives is worth noticing before buying. For shoppers aiming to avoid the longest ingredient panels and the broadest suite of processing aids, this loaf sets the upper limit in the supermarket aisle. Across all 8 entries, one pattern stands out. Mainstream supermarket bread now relies on long ingredient lists and industrial processing, prioritizing shelf life and efficiency over simplicity. You don't necessarily need artisan bakery bread. Understanding what is in your loaf gives you more control over what you are feeding your household. If this helped, check your bread now and subscribe for more Australian supermarket breakdowns.